Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, The Tattooed Mama. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a pumpkin pull string pinata. This tutorial is pretty late. I planned on getting it out September 28th. But for those of you that don't know, I was pregnant and was put on bed rest about a week before that, and then was going in and out of the hospital. So I am barely now past that stage, past having the baby, and past the postpartum preeclampsia stage as well. Now I know it's very short notice for anybody who is wanting to make a pumpkin pinata for Halloween. So on top of that, I am going to include a sugar skull template as well. On the website, you will find a free pumpkin pinata template as well as a sugar skull pinata template. Since Dia de los Muertos is just a couple days away, let's get started on the pinata. The supplies you will need to make the pinata are cardboard. This cardboard is from a diaper box, a hot glue gun, scissors, something to trace with, a box cutter or razor with a fresh sharp blade, string or ribbon for the pull strings, and rope for the pinata. You will first start out by tracing the pumpkin template twice, one for the front and one for the back. These templates this template is available online at www.thetattooedmomma.com, and the direct links can be found in the description box. This is a large pumpkin, so the way the template works is it will be printed off on 4 separate pages and you will need to cut and tape them together. But there is a guide on the pages, so it will be pretty easy. Next, cut some 4-inch wide straight pieces to use for the sides of the pinata. The length doesn't matter because we can stitch them together with staples if needed. It's important to cut against the corrugation because doing this will make doing the bends around the pinata template a whole lot easier. And then here I am just showing you what I mean by it being easier to bend. Set those aside and start prepping the masking tape. Now just start connecting one of those 4-inch side pieces to one of the pinata templates, and it doesn't matter which part you start with. And so I had a lot of short 4-inch pieces already pre-cut from a previous pinata I made, so I'm gonna have to stitch a lot of them together. The way you do this is by placing one piece behind the other and just stapling them. I also like to add a strip of masking tape to cover the sharp staple ends that stick out. After you have that other piece stapled and connected, continue taping it to the pinata template, and then you're just going to repeat this process until you have gone all the way around the pinata. Next, add the rope. Cut off a long enough piece of rope, then poke 2 holes into the pinata wherever you want the handle to go. I fold my rope in half to give it some extra strength. You don't have to. Then tie a knot to secure it, and when that is done, give it a good tug to make certain that it is secure, because you are not able to go back and redo this step once you have added the top piece. So this is the time to make certain that that rope is on there securely. Before moving on to the next step, plug in your hot glue gun. So you aren't going to add the other pinata face on just yet. If you do, the pinata will cave in with very minimal effort. So let's give this thing a little muscle. Cut off a piece from one of your 4-inch side pieces and fold it into a tube. Secure it with some tape. Then add hot glue to the bottom of it and stick that tube in the center of the pinata. Because this is a pull string pinata, you will only need one of these. If this was a pinata that would be taking a hit, I would tell you to put a couple more of these tubes in there. Once that dries, you can begin adding the other pinata face. Now the way you put the other pinata face on is the exact same way you did the first face. Just add masking tape all the way around. This is an extra step that I like to do. Here I am just adding one long piece of tape around the top and bottom as well as the sides. Just one piece is more than enough. If this was a hitting piñata, I would suggest using a lot more. And if you want to learn how to make a super durable hitting piñata, the link for that will also be in the description box, but there will be another link at the end of this video as well. Moving on to decorating, supplies you will need are orange, black, and brown tissue paper or crepe paper. Brown is pretty hard to find in the stores, but Target does usually have this tan one, or you can just use green for the pumpkin stem. You'll also need school glue, a paintbrush, water, and a bowl to mix your glue mixture in. First, start off by making the glue mixture. There isn't an exact science to this, just combine the school glue with water until it's about the consistency of pancake batter. I started off with this backside. Paint glue all around the edges and only the edges. If you put glue in the center, it will lead to a lot of creasing. Leaving the glue to the outer edges will give the piñata a cleaner look. Next, add 2 layers of black tissue paper. I don't like to decorate both sides because it is very time consuming, but if you want, you can ignore this step and decorate both sides with the orange fringe and little cutesy face. Once you have 2 layers on, trim off the excess, but leave about 1 inch of tissue paper hanging over. Then glue the hanging tissue paper down the sides. This will make the end result look neater. If you just trim off the sides completely, there will still be some cardboard showing through after you decorate the sides. Once finished, flip the piñata over and start on the front. Prep some orange fringe first. The way to do this is by cutting some 4-inch wide strips of orange tissue paper. I use one of my pre-cut side pieces as my guide so I don't have to take out a ruler. Try to cut a few at a time to speed up the process. Now once you have done that, fold the 4-inch tissue paper in half and cut slits all along the paper from one end to the other, but be careful not to go too high. Now to add the fringe. Paint a line of glue along the bottom of the piñata face. You will start from the bottom and work your way up. Then place 1 orange fringe tissue paper on that glue line. Don't slide your fingers across, instead do pats so the paper doesn't rip. Next, paint another line of glue directly above that and repeat the process until you've made your way all the way to the top. And then stop at the pumpkin stem because we're gonna do a color change. Once you're done with that, trim off any excess fringe that is hanging over. I felt it was still a little bare at the tippy top, so I'm going to add 1 more layer by gluing the head of the orange fringe along the sides of the piñata. Normally, I would decorate all the way up before moving on to the sides, but I wanted to wrap the brown tissue paper all around the stem to try something different. So before doing that, I'm going to finish up the sides first. The sides are really easy. Cut a few 4-inch wide strips of black tissue paper. I already had some pre-cut black side pieces from a previous piñata, which is why you don't actually see me cut any in this video. Then start gluing them to the side of the piñata. And it doesn't matter where you start as long as it's all covered in the end. Now for the stem. This was a leftover piece from a piñata done long ago, but recycling is cool, so I'm using it. So for the stem, I'm placing my first piece where it would make the most sense for the bottom to be hanging. Then continuing the normal process of placing a line of glue and adding a piece of tissue paper until it's all covered. Okay, so you can stop here if you want, but if you want the cutesy little pumpkin face, then let's continue. So my original idea was to add black pipe cleaners, but it ended up looking like a deformed basketball, so I went to Google for some inspiration. The only cute piñata I found was this one, and I 100% believe in giving credit where credit is due. So the link to this person's Etsy shop will be linked in the description box in case anyone would rather purchase this piñata instead of making it. The supplies you will need to make the face are pink, black, and white cardstock or paper, and then your choice color tissue paper for the bow. I chose purple because I thought it looked more Halloween-y. I started by making the eyes. I traced that ribbon roll you saw in the beginning of the video onto the black cardstock. then folded the paper in half so I would have two identical pieces, and then cut those out. Using the glue mixture from earlier, I glued black circles onto the piñata. This is something I would have done differently. I should have made the eyelashes first, so make sure when you do this piñata to glue the eyelashes on the black circles before you glue the black pieces to the piñata. The eyes have two white dots on each of them. So for the larger dot, I'm tracing a nickel, and for the smaller dot, I am tracing an unused pencil eraser. For the mouth, I found this cool ruler sitting in my ruler stash, so I traced that, then cut it a little shorter to fit under the eyes. Before gluing on the black mouth, glue the pink tongue on first. So I freehand drew a half circle, glued it to the bottom of the mouth, and trimmed off the excess. And here I am making the eyelashes. I only put glue on the bottom part of the eyelashes so that the tops would give like a 3D effect and make my pumpkin queen here look falsy fierce. And then for those rosy cheeks, I am just tracing a quarter onto the pink cardstock. Now for the bow. So I took half a whole piece of tissue paper, then folded that piece in half. Next, I turned it long ways and folded it over itself a couple times. This is the way you make any of those fabric bows too. So it ended up being about 4 inches tall. Now cut yourself a piece of ribbon for the center. To make the bow look like a bow and not a rectangle, you're going to fold the tissue paper back and forth by starting in the center. Wrap a piece of ribbon around the center to secure it, and add some hot glue to keep everything in place. Then glue the bow wherever you think it looks best. To turn your piñata into a pull string piñata, you're basically going to make a huge candy hole, but instead of it being towards the top, this hole will be at the absolute bottom. Make 3 slits to form a flap, then puncture holes into the flap. Make a huge knot in one of the ribbons so that it doesn't slide through the hole. This one will be the string that releases all the candy. Give it a tug to make sure when you pull on the string it doesn't come out, but instead it is strong enough to pull the cardboard flap. If it's not working, just dab a little hot glue on it to help keep it all in place. For the rest of the ribbons, slide each one into a hole. Now cut a small piece of cardboard and staple it onto the flap, letting it hang over. This will be what keeps the goodies inside the piñata. Then fill the piñata with toys or candy and push the pull string hole back into place. And that is it for this video. Remember that you can go to the website to get the free printable pumpkin and sugar skull piñata template. That's www.theattooedmomma.com, and the direct links will also be located in the description box below. If you can do me a huge solid and share this video if you enjoyed it, that would be so great. Then make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when the next video comes out. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Bye!